28 years later and why it's a letdown. Spoilers ahead, you've been warned. I will be real. I wanted to like this film desperately. It's the long-awaited follow-up to 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. The first film helped redefine zombie horror, and 28 Weeks Later was garbage, to be honest. But the first film had gritty realism, intense atmosphere, and emotional weight. 28 years later, sadly, it just doesn't live up to that and was surprisingly boring. Also, a quick note on the strong northern accents. Only English people will really be able to understand this. Subtitles will be needed. Again, I said I'm spoiling this, so you've been warned. The plot is simple, but not in a good way, as we get a lot of strange things happening. And I'll touch on these in the video. The setup sounds promising though. We're in a post-apocalyptic Britain, 28 years after the original rage virus outbreak. A small, isolated island community sends a young boy, Spike, and his father, Jamie, to the mainland as part of a coming-of-age ritual, while his mum is bedridden with a mysterious illness that makes her deliriously mental. Sounds like a great vehicle for tension, world-building, and character drama. To be honest, it was really good. The mainland looked great, we had great tension, and there was a lot of unknowns and some really good lore and world building. It was a really strong opening, albeit a bit clunky and disjointed, but you had no idea what was going to happen and a lot of questions were arising. We get introduced to a new breed of zombies, the old school ones that now eat any form of meat to stay alive. We get these obese, crawling ones that seem to feast mostly on worms and are very useless, to be honest. But then we have the Alpha. That's totally new. This is basically a steroid zombie that looks after a group of zombies and is much smarter than normal zombies. Very game-like, but it kind of worked. They did have many inconsistent powers though, like controlling birds like Ram from Gears of War, but only when the plot thought it would be a cool shot. Speaking of shots, this film looks great, I'll give it that. Anyway, back to the Alpha. The most interesting thing about them is that for some reason they have a massive wazzer and were happy to flaunt it, and the camera was way too focused on this area in a particular scene. Before they head back to the island after a successful hunt, they see a large fire, and it's a mad doctor that lives on the mainland, but Spike's dad says it's nothing. Anyway, Spike and his dad get back to the island after Spike kills one of the fat slug zombies, and they have a party, not before being chased by an Alpha, though. Spike, who is at the party and just wants his mum to get better, catches his dad cheating on his sick mum with a younger woman from the island. He decides he's going to leave his father and take his mum to the mainland to see if this crazy doctor can help, and this is where the plot goes to shit, basically. The journey is predictable, with emotional beats that should hit harder but fall flat. Spike's mum is portrayed in this kind of vague, delirious haze that's clearly supposed to be symbolic or haunting, but mostly comes off as confusing and underwritten. And she kicks out of it for plot hacks, like when they are sleeping on the mainland and she kills a zombie as if she is John Wick with nothing but a plastic bag. Really odd moment that. Later in the movie, Spike and his mum get chased by zombies and they run into the worst character I've come across in years. Some Swedish soldier who's on the island. His squad washed ashore to Britain and the squad died, but he didn't. He saves them from imminent death from the large horde of zombies, and then suddenly just starts being aggressive, asking what the plan is of this 12-year-old and his delirious mum, and claims they are useless and he should have let them die. Then, in 2 minutes, he's nice to them again. Very odd, and just threw me off. Then they run into a pregnant zombie. I assume the Alpha knocked her up with that huge wanger of his, and for some reason, Spike's mum helps this zombie give birth while holding its hand on this abandoned train. This is such a weird scene as they deliver a zombie baby, but it's not infected somehow, it's human. What a load of rubbish. Anyway, as this happens, the Swedish soldier freaks out and kills the mother zombie, as you would, and the Alpha rips his head off, again like Predator. Then he chases the mum, Spike, and the baby. Again, bear in mind the mother was bedridden before, Now she's an athlete of sorts, but whatever. The Alpha is about to kill them, and the mystery doctor saves the day. The mystery doctor isn't mysterious at all, and is kind of pointless. He diagnoses the illness in Spike's mum. She has cancer, and they kill her to put her out of her misery and add the skull to the tower of skulls this doctor has. And that's kind of it, really. The doctor's inclusion just bloats the plot and introduces a half-baked commentary on science versus survival. He's observing the infected and survivors, but brings no real revelation to the story. Spike takes the baby back to the island and leaves it at the gate and runs off to live and fend on his own. He gets into trouble and runs into a bloke called Jimmy at the end, who is clearly based on the notorious Jimmy Savile. Just a really odd ending, to be honest. I know this is meant to be one of 3 films, but I really didn't enjoy it from the moment the mum and Spike headed off to the mainland alone. Spike is our lens into this world, but he's just not compelling. He lacks the grit, fear, or growth of previous protagonists like Jim from 28 Days Later. Jamie, his dad, is meant to be the season's scavenger, but he's oddly forgettable. And Isla, his mum, represents a metaphor more than an actual character. Her illness is never explained in a satisfying way, and her presence is more frustrating than emotional. Her death doesn't hit at all. It's just boring. This film is basically like a role-playing game with a great map and world, but with a terrible storyline. The zombies just show up when the plot needs them to, and of course they miraculously disappear as well when needed. The film tries to explore generational trauma, the collapse of society, and the mutating legacy of the rage virus, but it never commits. Instead of digging into these ideas, it skims over them with vague dialogue, a few moody flashbacks, and a lot of wandering. It abandons the gritty realism that made 28 Days Later so good. It was about intimate horror and raw survival. 28 Years Later goes for spectacle and loses its soul a bit. The new elements feel borrowed from other genres. The alphas and the spine ripping. It doesn't scream Danny Boyle to me. It's trying to be The Road, Predator, and The Walking Dead all at once, and ends up feeling like a weird mashup of none of them, with a terrible ending that throws you off like From Dusk Till Dawn. But that did it in a fun and good way. This was just odd. So, to recap, 28 Years Later feels like a missed opportunity. It had the chance to evolve the story in a powerful way, to show us what long-term survival in this infected world really looks like. Instead, it veers into weird, over-the-top game-like horror with alpha zombies and half-baked metaphors, and forgets the simple terror and heart that made the original so good. Let me know what you thought of the film, and I'll catch you in the next one.